What if the world's most important oil route didn't need to be closed to shake the global economy? That's the real tension in the Strait of Hormuz, not closure, but danger. If it becomes too risky, ships stop on their own. This narrow route carries about 1/5 of the world's oil. So even slowdowns hit globally, fuel prices rise, supply chains tighten, markets react. And it's already happening. Ships are hesitating. Some are turning back. It's not closed, but it doesn't feel open. The difference between closure and fear. Most people imagine a shutdown of the strait in simple terms. Warships blocking passage, mines sealing the water, a complete halt. But military reality rarely works like that. A full closure would be extreme, difficult to maintain, and almost guaranteed to trigger a massive military response from the United States and its allies. It's the kind of move that escalates quickly and dangerously. But Iran doesn't necessarily need to go that far. There's another approach, one that is quieter, cheaper, and arguably more effective. Instead of fully closing the strait, the goal becomes making it unpredictable, risky, expensive, not impossible to cross, but uncomfortable enough that companies begin to reconsider. Because global shipping doesn't operate on courage, it operates on risk calculations. If the risk becomes too high, ships don't need to be stopped. They stop themselves. That's exactly what's starting to happen. Insurance premiums for vessels have surged dramatically, turning routine voyages into financial gambles. Tanker operators are pausing decisions, rerouting shipments, or simply waiting. Even with naval presence in the region, safety isn't guaranteed. And in business, uncertainty is often worse than danger. So the strait doesn't need to be physically closed. It just needs to feel closed. The geography that makes it vulnerable. Part of what makes this situation so fragile is the geography itself. The Strait of Hormuz is narrow, much narrower than most people imagine. At its tightest, the shipping lanes are only a few kilometers wide. That means vessels are forced into predictable paths, moving slowly through confined corridors. And predictability, in military terms, is vulnerability. Ships can't easily maneuver. They can't take wide detours. They follow lanes that are known, fixed, and exposed. This turns every passing tanker into a visible, trackable target, not just for large-scale attacks, but for small, disruptive actions that can create outsized consequences. It's not about overwhelming force. It's about precision, timing, and understanding that in a narrow space, even a small disruption can have global impact. Mines, the invisible threat. Among all the tools available, naval mines are perhaps the most quietly powerful. They don't announce themselves. They don't need to chase a target. They simply wait. A single mine placed in the right location can halt traffic instantly, not because every ship will be hit, but because no ship wants to take that chance. Clearing mines is slow, methodical, and dangerous work. It takes time, coordination, and specialized equipment. And during that time, uncertainty spreads. History has already shown how effective this can be. During past conflicts in the region, even limited mining operations cause significant disruption. In today's environment, where the volume of traffic is higher and the stakes are greater, the effect would be amplified. The real power of mines isn't destruction, it's hesitation. Missiles. Then there are missiles. Iran has developed a range of anti-ship missile systems that can be launched from coastal areas, often from positions that are difficult to detect or neutralize quickly. These weapons don't need to be used in large numbers to have an impact. One successful strike is enough, because in global shipping, perception matters as much as reality. A single damaged tanker becomes a headline becomes a warning, and a warning becomes a decision point for every company considering whether to enter the strait. Missiles, in this context, are less about sustained attack and more about strategic signaling. They demonstrate capability, they introduce doubt, and they remind everyone watching that the risk is real. Drones. Drones add another dimension to this equation. They are relatively cheap, flexible, and increasingly difficult to counter completely. They can be deployed quickly, in numbers, and from multiple locations. And they don't need to cause major damage to be effective. Sometimes, just being seen is enough. Reports of drone activity, whether confirmed attacks or near misses, create a psychological effect. They blur the line between safety and threat. They make it harder to predict what might happen next. And in an environment where predictability is everything, that uncertainty becomes a powerful tool. Drones don't need to dominate the battlefield. They just need to complicate it. Speed and pressure. Iran's naval strategy also relies heavily on small, fast attack boats. Unlike traditional navies that focus on large ships, this approach emphasizes speed, numbers, and coordination. Groups of smaller vessels can move quickly, surround larger ships, and create situations that are difficult to manage without escalation. They don't need to sink a tanker to be effective. They just need to get close enough to create tension, to force a reaction, to slow things down. And in a narrow waterway like the Strait of Hormuz, even minor disruptions can have cascading effects. Traffic backs up, schedules slip, risk calculations shift again. It's not about dominance, it's about pressure. Why military power has limits? At this point, a natural question comes up. If the United States and its allies have such powerful navies, why can't they simply ensure safe passage? The answer lies in the nature of the threat. Traditional naval power is designed to counter large, visible forces, ships, fleets, clear targets. But the challenges in the Strait of Hormuz are different. Mines are hidden, drones are small and numerous. Missiles can be launched quickly from dispersed locations. Swarm boats operate in unpredictable patterns. You can't eliminate every threat instantly, and you can't guarantee that every ship will pass through safely. Even with escorts, the risk remains. And for commercial operators, that's often enough to reconsider. Because at the end of the day, no company wants to be the one that takes the hit, financially or physically. The reality in 2026, what makes this situation especially important, is that it's no longer hypothetical. The disruption has already begun. Shipping activity has slowed. Some vessels are waiting outside the strait rather than entering. Insurance costs have surged, turning routine operations into high-risk decisions. Oil prices have reacted accordingly, climbing as uncertainty spreads. Energy markets are sensitive to even small disruptions in supply, and the Strait of Hormuz is anything but small. When flow through this route is threatened, the impact is immediate and global. Meanwhile, countries that rely heavily on this passage are scrambling for alternatives, pipelines, storage strategies, rerouting plans. But none of these solutions fully replace the scale and efficiency of the strait itself. It remains a bottleneck. And right now, that bottleneck is under pressure. The economic chain reaction. The consequences of prolonged disruption extend far beyond the energy sector. Higher oil prices translate into higher transportation costs, which then feed into the price of goods. Supply chains, already strained in many parts of the world, face additional uncertainty. For economies that depend on stable energy imports, the impact can be significant. Inflation rises, growth slows, markets become volatile, and what began as a regional tension starts to look like a global economic risk. Some analysts have already warned that if disruption in the strait continues for several months, the effects could become systemic, spreading through financial systems, trade networks, and consumer markets. In other words, this isn't just about ships and oil. It's about everything connected to them. So, could Iran really shut it down? The honest answer is nuanced. A full, long-term shutdown would be difficult and likely trigger major military escalation. But making the strait effectively unusable, that's far more realistic. With mines, missiles, drones, and fast attacks, shipping can become too risky and expensive to continue normally. And that may already be happening. The strait doesn't need to be closed. It just needs to lose trust. And maybe that's what makes this so dangerous. Not chaos, but hesitation. If you want more real deep breakdowns like this, like and subscribe.